Hello, today I'll be demonstrating how to run tests in GameDriver and Unity's editor, as well as testing the standalone build on cloud devices. After you've imported your GameDriver package into your Unity scene, you'll make an empty game object and attach the GDIO script to that object. GameDriver supports testing in editor, device, and cloud testing. For this demonstration, we're using NUnit test framework to run our tests, but GameDriver can be used with any test framework that you'd prefer. We will be looking at manually launching our tests through Visual Studio and NUnit, but I would like to note that these tests can be launched from command line and easily integrated with a CI/CD pipeline to automate this process. For this test, we can see we are testing in the editor mode. We have some parameters beneath our one-time setup that handle connecting to our agent based on the defined test mode. In the first test, our API will query the category button object, and we will wait for the object to become active in the game. We will send a click object command from our API to the game to then click that button. This process is repeated for the next buttons on the UI and will ultimately click the race button, which will start a single player race in the game. The last line will check that after we have performed the previous commands, that the level island scene is now the active scene in our game. The second test is responsible for sending commands to move the boat through the racetrack, and using our hierarchy path language, we're able to move the player to the checkpoints. At the end of that test, we will check the position of the boat to verify that it did in fact successfully move from its initial position. Beneath our one-time teardown is the code responsible for disconnecting the test from the agent and giving control back to the player. This is an important feature as it allows for manual and automated testing within the same session. Now we'll go ahead and run our tests in NUnit, and we can come back to the editor and visually observe that the tests are running correctly. Now we can see GameDriver quickly clicking through the UI options to get the race started. While the race is loading, we can make note of the GameDriver UI in the top left of the editor. Looking under client connections, we can see that one client is connected to the editor, along with some date and time information as well as the mouse X and Y coordinates. Our second test is now running and the boat is moving towards the first checkpoint. We can visually observe the test running and note the success, or we can just check the test results at the end and investigate any failures. Now, let's take a look at testing our game on a cloud device. In this example, we're using the Sauce Labs environment to test on real devices. We've already uploaded our built APK file to Sauce Labs, and now we will select the device to test on. We'll be using a private device in this case and connecting to the device via Sauce Labs virtual USB client. Once the device is selected, our APK will install and launch itself. Now, all that's left to do is connect the device via the virtual USB client and then forward the port that our agent is listening on to send the communication traffic to the cloud device. So now we'll just run a few brief commands to set up the server for the virtual USB client. We've successfully started our virtual server. Now our next step here is to find the session that we are running on Sauce Labs. So we ran a quick command to find that. So now we'll need to take that session ID number and run a command to connect to that session. We've successfully connected to the session. Now we just need to forward our traffic from GameDriver using the Android debug bridge. And then we're just going to forward the port we use for GameDriver, which is 19734. Perfect. Now that all of those steps are done, all we need to do is change our test to standalone mode and then run our test the same way we did last time. We can launch these tests in the same way as before, and as you can see, the tests are now running on a remote device. In this session, we've covered running tests in the Unity editor, uploading your build to a cloud testing environment, and how to connect and run your GameDriver tests on those cloud devices. For more information, please visit GameDriver.io and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.